Hi guys, I guess I would consider this a story time video. It's kind of going into detail as far as my weight loss struggles throughout my life. Um, some of it a lot of people may not know because my past was kind of janky. I had a single mom and food was an issue. So I didn't become overweight until the age of 10. Before that, my real dad left it when we were 6. He left when my mom had 4 kids. She was single by herself. We were living in a trailer right beside my grandparents' house. So food wasn't an issue. I would go home. I would eat dinner at my mom's house, and then I'd go over to my grandparents' house and eat with them as well. Because my Nana would let me help her cook, and all the southern stuff, homemade biscuits and pot roast and all that stuff. So I always liked being able to help and then being able to eat what I've helped cook. So that part was a good part of my childhood. My Nana also took me. She says she thinks that she's full-blooded Indian. I actually did a DNA test, and that was not untrue, very untrue. I have no Native American in me. So she would take me out. We lived in a fairly wooded area. It wasn't, super wooded, but she would take me out back and show me what I can and can't eat outside. So, sometimes I wouldn't even go in for lunch. So, after the age of 6, after my real dad left, we ended up moving. And Mom had a couple of boyfriends. Most of them are not important enough to mention. One ended up causing her to have a falling out with my Nana and Papa. So we moved around a lot. And this particular boyfriend was more interested in drugs than, making sure that we had lights or water or food for that matter. So, being without food, it made me uncomfortable, Obviously, I was a child. I didn't understand why we didn't have food in the house. So I would stay at my aunt's house where she had food, but most of the time I ended up having to go back home where we didn't really have food in the house, and my mom was depressed, so she slept most of the time. And she was working. She didn't start working until the end of that time period, but she was working, and he would take her money and use it on drugs as well. So food wasn't a priority in our house. I remember one time she was struggling with food, struggling to find us something for dinner, so she took us all to the little convenience store. I was about 8, so the little small bags of chips were still 25 cents, and she got us all a 25-cent bag of chips with her change, and she got us all a cherry Coke to share. All 4 of us, we shared it. And so that's one of the fondest memories I have, as far as not having food in the house. When I was about 9, she met my dad. He's the only father figure I've ever really had outside of my pawpaw. But when he came around, all that changed. The douchebag was gone. We finally had heat in the house. We had electricity. He got us cable TV so we could watch Power Rangers. He always made sure we had food in the house. He moved us out to Dallas, to Texas, and when I went back out there, and about 2 months after they had the house and everything set up, and when I got there was food in the house. There was always food in the house. So me, being a kid, not knowing what it's like to always have food in the house, felt the need to eat. If it's there, I need to eat it because I don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow. And it took me a long time to realize that that's not going to be an issue. So that started my love-hate relationship with food. I would gorge. I would eat anything I could. I would wait until they go to bed just so I can get up and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich just in case I woke up and the food wasn't there, And that's when the diet started coming in, because I did start gaining weight. I know at 10 years old I was 150 pounds. I used to be told that I was not, my mom would let me know, hey, I went to your school and I can tell you're the biggest girl there, which was true. And it didn't bother me until she started pointing it out. But at 10, I was put on Slim Fast. Didn't work because I would go to school really early. We walked to school then. We lived about a mile and a half from school, so we would walk to school. And I'd get there super early, and I would help the lunch ladies make lunch. And, nowadays you couldn't do that nowadays. But I would go back there and help the lunch ladies make lunch, and and breakfast, and they would give me extra food. So that wasn't helping the situation. At about 12, we moved back to Georgia, and that's when the phentermine came into the picture. I got on phentermine. The doctor pretty much told my mom that she needed to padlock the fridge. Turns out about 10 years later, we found out he was a quack who's psychotic and is actually in jail right now for stalking his wife. So that kind of clued me in on why he would actually prescribe a 10 or 11-year-old phentermine. I believe I lost weight on that. I can't really remember for sure. I remember after getting off of that, I quit taking that because it made me mean, and Mom didn't like it when I was mean, even though I was, already hormonal because I was hitting adolescence that's what it's called, right? Puberty. I was hitting puberty, so I was already emotional and such, so we quit taking that. When I was 14, I noticed boys started looking at me because I had boobs, and I had big boobs, and small waist, and a big butt, but I had a boyfriend, a really serious boyfriend. I was 13 years old, so every morning I would get up and I would walk around the block, and each block, it was 2 miles, so every morning I'd get up and walk around, and that was before the bus came, and then after the bus would leave, when I'd get off the bus in the afternoon, I would do the same thing, and I was scared to eat because I didn't want to gain any weight, but I didn't really realize I was losing weight. It was just something to do because of the stressors that were going on at home. I wanted to have some kind of outlet, and that was my outlet. When we moved to Newton when I was 14 or 15, I started high school out there. I was still pretty thin. I had still big boobs, so I got a lot of attention from the boys, and that's not something that I was used to. So, of course, I would eat. We had a vending machine in high school. I had no idea you get vending machines in high school. So I would go to the vending machine. They had a cart that they would push around and sell candy off of. I would get that. It didn't really bother me. Then summer came, and I gained a whole lot of weight, about 60 or 70 pounds. So after that, we went back to phentermine. I lost a good 90 pounds, and I was thin. Everybody was wondering what I did. There were a lot of rumors because I ended up quitting school around that time. I got kicked out of the house because of a boyfriend. But when I came back, I was obviously bigger, and I had found out there were rumors that I was on drugs and got sent to rehab, which was not the case. I probably would have been better in rehab than I was when I left because I ended up moving out. But every time I would lose or gain weight from the phentermine, I would be scared to eat. Phentermine makes you not eat. So when it was time to eat, I was scared to eat. I did lose a lot of weight when I was 17. I had got down to 160. Excuse me. And then after I got kicked out, I had gained a little bit of it back, not much. I was probably about 205. I got pregnant on my 18th birthday. So that didn't help things. I gained a lot of weight. Actually, I gained about 15 pounds with my son, but it was after I had him that I actually shot up. Breastfeeding, every time I would work out or something, it would drop my milk supply, so I just quit doing that. And, a lot of stressors. I was with a guy who was 18 years older than me, and he treated me like I was a kid, and the only reason I got pregnant was actually to get out of the house that I was in. So there's the upgain again, and then I ended up leaving him, moving back in with my parents. Got back on, I actually got back on Adderall and phentermine at the same time. So I got, again, down to 170. And that's when the whole not being able to eat or being scared to eat kicked back in. It's funny because when I was skinny or when I had lost a lot of weight, then I was scared to eat. But once I gained the weight and got to a certain size, I was just like, I'd probably mention this because I say it all the time, but once you're at a certain weight, it's just like, oh well, I'm already big. What is this gonna matter? So, yeah. I got pregnant with my daughter after I met my husband. I met my husband in 2006, and that's where, around the time I was about 170. Excuse me. So, after I had her, I shot up again because I breastfed. I breastfed her for 2 years. So, and again, any kind of physical exercise or anything would cause a sudden drop in my milk supply. And I knew we were just starting out, so we couldn't afford formula. So breastfeeding was something that had to be done. Not for 2 years, obviously, but, yeah, so, and then when we weaned her, I thought, hell, I was 70 pounds not even 2.5, 3 years ago. I can do this. So I tried to go back on phentermine, and it didn't work because my body was tired of it. So I finally got back on phentermine after I started working at the Waffle House. I worked at the Waffle House. I started in 2012, and I got back on phentermine in 2013, I want to say, and I lost about 80 pounds. So I have this trend where I will go up, and then I'll lose a lot of weight, and then I'll get pregnant, and then it's just like all that work is gone. But when I did get back on the phentermine the last time, before I got pregnant with my daughter, I was also on Vyvanse, which is an alternative for Adderall, but it's supposed to be a little bit different, but to me it was still the same. So I did lose a lot of weight, and I did gain that weight back immediately after I quit taking it and got pregnant. After I had Amara, who is, again, she'll be 3 on April 16th. After I had her, I started back on phentermine in November. She was born in April. Started back in November. And I lost 15 pounds the first month. And then I was just like, yes, this is going to work. I don't need to wait the 3 years before I started back. And it didn't work because it did not give, it made me hungry. And I still took it. I usually took a pill and a half just to get going. And some days I would take 3 pills a day just to get the effect. So I was going to the diet doctor a whole lot, and it wasn't just one. If you live in my area, I live in Powder Springs, so we have 3 diet doctors that are basically pill mill type things where you can just walk in, get weighed, pay $60, and they'll send you home with a B12 shot and a 30-day supply of phentermine. And a couple months in a row, I did end up going to all 3 of them at the same time, just so that I can get through each month. And I wasn't losing, and they didn't catch on to the fact I wasn't losing because they were still getting their $60 every month. So, yeah, I wasn't losing, but my house was clean. So, like that matters. I didn't even think about what I was doing to my body, what I was doing to my heart, what I was doing to anything, because I just wanted to appear to be a stronger person. I was able to, take care of my kids and make sure they were clean and they had clean clothes and my house was clean and my husband was happy because our house was clean. But that's kind of my love-hate relationship with food, because when I was on all the 3 pills a day to phentermine, I wouldn't eat. When I would eat, it would usually be late at night when I would want to make a Taco Bell run or something like that. So, yeah. I just wanted to give you guys story time, I guess, per se, on what led to me choosing to take the journey of weight loss surgery. I knew it was something I've always wanted to do since I was 14. Never thought it was something I'd be able to do. Thought I would also be, or always be on the ever revolving roller coaster of, excuse me, of Phentermine and Vyvanse, or Phentermine and Adderall, and we're going to lose this weight and then we're just going to gain it right back. And it's tiresome. It wears your body out. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so I guess that's all. Again, I am pre-recording these videos because I do have a cruise coming up, and I wanted to make sure that I keep in contact with you guys. So any questions, feel free to call, or not call me. Don't call me. I don't like talking on the phone. You know, if you want my phone number, I'll probably text you. But I always put my Instagram and I always put my Facebook in the description bar below so that you guys can contact me. Feel free to add me on Facebook. Feel free to, follow me on Instagram. Message me on Instagram. Either way is fine. Any questions you have, feel comfortable asking me. I do not mind. I'm not bothered at all, and I will try to answer you as fast as I can. So yeah, I hope everybody's having a good day, and thank you for following my journey. This is Brandy from Fluffy Gets Sleeved, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.